Good morning. We are live. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the pre-market PulseScan with yours truly, Dex, the algo capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous PulseWave price trigger trading system. Put the power of the algos in your favor. Beat the central banks at their own game, day in and day out. We put those pulse wave price trigger reports right in your hand so that you can get in here and bang it out with the best of them. That's how we roll. That's what we do all day, a day. I really hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Let's see if we can get at least 100 likes on this live stream. Can we get 100 likes? Maybe if we get at least 100 likes on this particular video, this live stream that we're doing, I might bless you with a little something, something. I might throw a freebie at you. I might hit you with a little something, something. So go ahead. Let's see if we can get to 100 likes on this live. And if we do, I will be a man of my word and I will hit you with a little something, something to say thank you for hitting that like button. All right. And don't forget to share the video with someone. You never know who it may help or encourage. You just never know. All right. So we can get to 100 likes. I think I may hit y'all with a little something, something that you will like. With all that being said, man, this is why I always say to you, take back Fridays or weird little days, because there once upon a time when I would not initiate a new position ahead of a holiday, ahead of a weekend, ahead of a big meeting. And for the most part, I still don't. But the Take Back Friday rules have been relaxed a little bit because of the news cycle driven market conditions we find ourselves in at the present time. One of the reasons I told you that I don't like to do it is because we're in a weird space where things like to jump off over the weekend, things that we have no way of knowing ahead of time, and things that could be market moving events. We're just in that situation. What do I mean? Well, it was brought to my attention that over the weekend, Mr. Warren Buffett made an announcement that he was going to be dumping all his airline stock holdings. First of all, you have to always ask yourself about the timing of said release. And then he said something bearish about the markets. They call him all these different names for a reason, okay? So he's like the magi of markets, you know what I mean? The sage of Omaha. When he's the new age E.F. Hutton. When he talks, everybody listens. All right, and then they like to sit there, watch by it, and mimic whatever he does. But I thought it was very interesting and very strange at calculating how this was released over the weekend while the markets were closed. And of course, well after the fact, I'm sure he had already dumped the shares in the market before he made that announcement, talking about he thinks that another leg down is coming in the markets. And that just makes me think, well, I believe he's using his influence and power to basically make this a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because of the Oracle of Omaha, thank you, Blow, I appreciate that. The Oracle of Omaha, the Sage of Omaha, the Prophet of Omaha, whatever you want to call him, he has spoken. And people do take notice when he speaks. And the truth of the matter is, the sage is not what people think he is. Never has been. He'll tell you himself. I will never forget one of the famous interviews that he gave. And he admitted he doesn't even have a computer on his desk in his office. No computer. Since when have you ever heard of a trader, a market guru, not having a computer on their desk? They have computers all over the house. So, and screens everywhere. What are you talking about? Don't believe the hype, folks, is basically what I'm saying to you. Now, let me show you a little something. Again, the Oracle of Omaha ain't got nothing on the prophetic utterances of Fire Marshal Bill. And one of his most famous, deepest thoughts and quotes of all time were, let me show you something. So I'm going to go ahead and show you something real quick. We're going to get into this. All right, so here is our pre-market. After all, the name of the show is called PreMarket PulseScan, is it not? All right, so here we be. We got the Dow down 276 points at 23,343. It should be noted that the overnight low got down to 23,208 before recovering 143 points. E-mini S&P 500 is down 62.5 points, trading at 86.54 3/4. It should also be noted that I am seeing something a little odd and weird, not something you see every day, but there is an arbitrage type of a conditioning happening between the standard E-mini contracts and the micro contracts. Big differences I'm seeing all over the place. Very interesting. I thought I should throw that out there. Even though they're trading at the same price, they got different numbers. Like, for instance, the NASDAQ, the E-mini NASDAQ is down 51.75 points, while the the micro is down 40.25 points. E-mini S&P 500 E-mini is down 16.75 points, where the micro is down 12.5 points. And then the Russell is down 18.1, and the micro is down 13.4. Very interesting development. So your NASDAQ and your S&P and your Russell, all of them are down, but they're not down hardcore, and they're well off their lows. It should be noted too, well off the lows. All right, the E-mini S&P got as low as 27.71 before recovering to 28.03. The NASDAQ 100 got as low as 85.56 after now recovering to 86.69 So interesting display here. Another one that has been quite the volatile mix as of late is your Bitcoin Futures Composite Index, only up $25 right now, trading at 88.65. We did hit an overnight low of 86 even and an overnight high of 90.60. Nat gas up 11 cents at $2. Crude oil is down 45 cents, trading at $19.32. It did get as low as $18.05, and we've hit a high of $19.75 in the overnight. Looking at the long bond, it's up 7.30 seconds, at trading at 180 and 28.30 seconds. Taking a look now at that bold gold, it's up $11.60, trading at $17.12. After hitting an overnight high of $17.26, and then we pulled back and got as low as 1,700 even. So quite the trading range there. Still under that 1720 threshold, though. Going to need to see a little bit more strength than that. Taking a look at silver. Silver right now is pretty much unchanged at $14.94. Got as low as $14.78 in the overnight, and the overnight high was $15.22. Silver is basically showing and telling you that it's having problems with the $15 handle. Taking a look now at the US dollar index, it is up 30 pips. And we have a situation where we're trading at 99.38, well below par. Got as low as 99.08 in the overnight market before a slight bounce recovery. Euro is off 43 pips, trading at 109.44. Pound sterling is off 53 pips, trading at 124.35. And the Aussie is off 6 pips at 64.07. Aussie did get as low as 63.74, quite a ways from that 65 handle that we were flirting with just a while ago. Canadian dollar still above the 140 mark. It's up 3 pips. I'm sorry, down 3 pips, trading at 140.89. Euro yen off 50 pips, trading at 116.86. And going over the food, beans moving quite far in the opposite direction. Your beans right now are off $12.50, trading at 8.37. Corn down 3.75 points, trading at 3.14 3/4. And last but not least, wheat is now down 6, trading at 5.10 half. All right, so that is our overnight markets. Kind of quiet, not too much going on. So I'm hoping that this will be just a regular old Monday where you don't have a lot going on, not a lot happening, to give the market some room to breathe and inhale and exhale, like they should be doing. So that's what we're hoping right now. Let the markets breathe a little bit. Why don't you? Just let them breathe a little bit. That's all we need. We just need some breather. All right, some breath control. Is that too much to ask? I don't think that it is. I don't think it's too much to ask, especially with all of the news coming out, all the conflicting information. That's not fun either when you have to wade through all the nonsense to get to the truth of the news. That gets old real quick, like real quick. And I'm just hoping that maybe this week can be a little bit better. I know it's a pipe dream for me to wish for more transparency in government. I know that's not going to happen. We're too far gone for that to happen. The patient already, um, you know, died on the operating table a long time ago. And the sad part is the patient expired while the doctors were looking the other way. They were distracted watching the fight. So that's what happened. While they were watching the fight, um, the patient seized up and passed away on the table. And that's sad, but it's a truth, and it's just something we got to deal with. I mean, that's the kind of world we are now. They're talking about bringing forth the technology that will one day turn into the mark of the beast. I told everybody about the tattoo, and people were like, "It's not going to be a tattoo. It's going to be a microchip." I said, "It's not going to be a microchip. It's going to be a tattoo technology. It's all of that now. They have it. They're going to put it on your forehead and or the back of the hand, and it's going to have that coronavirus thing attached to it as well. Everything is going to be around that. If you want to go back to work, you're going to have to prove that you don't have the coronavirus. You got to be hooked up to the Borg, to the hive mind. You won't be able to buy or sell anything, and that's very specific because you won't have the ID technology. They won't be able to find you in the system, so they can't link anything to you. It's going to allow them to track you in real time, not just with visual. Not just a dot on a map, but actually have eyes on you, eyes and ears on you at all times. This is what's coming. They'll be able to watch pretty much every street, every city, every town. They'll be able to not just watch the roads, but watch everywhere you go, even in the suburbs. They will be able to watch you everywhere. They will have thousands and thousands and thousands of drones in the air flying at all times, pretty much never landing. They'll have the really big ones, the eye in the sky, and there'll be several of those big ones that will be the main hubs for everything. They'll be hooked into all the little ones, or should I say the little ones will be hooked into it, so that it will have eyes and ears on everything. It will also have infrared vision, heat vision, all of that. They'll be able to find anyone. All right. If you're alive, they'll be able to find you. It's just that simple. And it's just the world that we live in. This is what we've woken up to. It is what it is. All right, let's take a look now at the other news. Let's take a look at some market news. All right, so we got global markets dive as the U.S. ratchets up tensions with China over the coronavirus. Asian markets fell first, with Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index down more than 4% at the close on Monday. European stocks also plunged, with the Euro-wide stocks 50 down more than 3.5%. Well, you already know my beliefs on that. I believe that the U.S. set China up, planted that virus. They're doing their war games that were going on around the same time as your patient zero manifested. I think that, excuse me, all the nations of the earth have been playing around and weaponizing viruses. I think I was one of the first people to break that many years ago. That not only the U.S. but other governments, other sovereign nations, they've all demonstrated their ability to weaponize pretty much every virus on the planet. All right, including STDs. They can give an STD to whoever they want without intimacy. It's just the power, the technology that they got going on right now is absolutely mind blowing. All right. You got to understand that they can do that. They have the power to do that. All right. They also send out mixed information. On one hand, they're telling you that the coronavirus is not airborne, it's a surface type of a thing. And then with the other breath, they're telling you, okay, fine, it might be. So you're going back and forth. They're giving you all this weird mixed information. And notice how they did the psychological sleight of hand method by making everyone think that it was basically a flu virus and no different than the flu. And as you see, that was a bold-faced lie. It was nothing like the flu. And now we know it, but knowing it doesn't mean much if you can't do anything about it. And once again, that's where we find ourselves. We find ourselves in a situation where we can't do anything about it. Sad, but true. Bond King Jeff Gundlach says Warren Buffett's ditching of U.S. airline stocks is a big deal and means the genie is not going back in the bottle. Airlines are under pressure during the coronavirus, and Buffett's sale of his stock could mark a turning point for previously attractive airline stocks. J. Crew has filed for bankruptcy. The American retailer said it reached an agreement with lenders to convert around $1.65 billion of its debt into equity. Uber may require drivers and passengers to wear masks in the U.S. The ride-hailing titan is also developing tech to check whether drivers are wearing masks. Disney hit hard by coronavirus to face Wall Street questions on impact of the company. On Tuesday, Wall Street will assess the level of damage and look for signs of a bottom. There will be no bottom. Nissan to retrench further in new plan to focus on U.S., Japan, China. The operational performance plan is due to be announced on May 28th. HSBC to buy out life insurance joint venture partner in China. The move will allow London headquartered HSBC to further expand its footprint in the world's second largest economy. Private equity firm Elliott Management is funding a high-stakes patent lawsuit against streaming service Quibi. The fund will back Eco Technology's suit, which claims Quibi is violating its patents and has stolen trade secrets. The Wall Street Journal reported, some corporate espionage going on here. Earnings expected. Ferrari, Tyson's Food, and Lowe's Corp are scheduled to report results. On the economic data front, the New York Business Conditions Index and Loan Officer Survey are due. So in other words, a blah, 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 boring day is to be expected as far as the news goes. But, since that is all over with, let's deal with this. All right, because we still got speculation, we got innuendo, we got all types of, hints and winks and nods and secret handshakes when it comes to what we're dealing with. And yes, it affects all area of life. You can stick your head in the sand, it doesn't make it go away. You still have to contend with it and come to terms with it and decide, what are you going to do? Are you going to live in fear? Are you going to be shook ones all your life, scared of your own shadow? Or are you going to say, whatever comes, so be it? You see, the question that's looming right now is, did China steal coronavirus from Canada and weaponize it? I don't even have to go into the article. The answer is yes and no. Everyone knows that all sovereign nations have dibbled and dabbled in this since day one. There's really nothing to talk about. Now, here's something else. Like I say, self-fulfilling prophecies. Brace for a Monday massacre. Buffett liquidates all airline holdings as Berkshire sees another leg lower. Why does the market need to collapse? Because one man, one individual, one company decides it's liquidating a certain sector of its portfolio. So are you saying that this person is God and whatever he does and bids is right and just and practically perfect in every way, and that he's never lost money a day in his life? He's never lost a trade or a business deal a day in his life? Is that what you expect from us? Well, guess what? It didn't happen, and I hope it doesn't happen, because he does not determine what happens in these markets. All right. Now, I like the way the article starts off. It says, well, it's official. There won't be any Buy American op-eds by the Oracle of Omaha this time around. In fact, if anything, they will be titled simply Sell. Warren Buffett, who turns 90 in 4 months, had an unpleasant surprise for the perma-bullish Berkshire faithful during their live stream of Berkshire's annual meeting 1 month after Berkshire surprised investors by selling parts of its Delta and Southwest Airlines stakes, both of which had previously been above a 10% ownership level, and speculation was rife that Berkshire could purchase an airline outright in the near future. The Oracle of Omaha said that 4 years after Berkshire took major stakes in the 4 largest U.S. airlines, he had liquidated and sold the entirety of its equity position in the U.S. airline industry, which included $6.5 billion worth of stock in United Airlines, Southwest, and Delta Airlines. So, assuring that Monday will be a bloodbath for trannies that would be the transportation stocks. Buffett justified his decision as follows: the world has changed for the airlines, and I don't know how it changed, and I hope it corrects itself in a reasonably prompt way, he said. I don't know if Americans have now changed their habits or will change their habits because of the extended period. But I think there are certain industries, and unfortunately, I think that the airline industry, among others, that are really hurt by a forced shutdown by events that are far beyond our control. I beg to differ. The events are not far beyond your control. These were decisions made by those in power, that they were going to elevate coronavirus to that of the Black Death plague, where tens of millions of people perished. We don't have tens of millions of people perishing over COVID. We don't even really have hundreds of thousands. But yet, they wanted to treat this like it was the Black Death. The flu, just the regular flu, kills more people per year than the coronavirus has killed since December. So why didn't we shut down the entire global economy for the flu? The AIDS virus has killed tens of millions of people since 1989, but yet we did not shut down the world economies for HIV. Car crashes kill more people than horseback riding, and we did not shut down the economy because of the increase of automobile accidents. Suicide rates are the highest on record than they've ever been. We did not shut down the economy because people kept jumping off of bridges. Drug overdoses are still a problem. We did not shut down the economy because people kept sticking needles in their arms. So why did we do it for the coronavirus? What was this fire drill really getting us ready for? We already know they've weaponized everything under the sun. They can even kill you with ice cream now. That's right. You don't even have to take a bite of the ice cream. All they do is take the gun, shoot the ice pellet into your neck. It dissolves instantaneously, leaving no trace, and you're dead. I have a heart attack. So now ice cream can kill people, and this is just the world we live in. They have this laser thing, this laser cannon gun that can pretty much dematerialize you anytime they feel like it. They got scalar weapons that can turn skyscrapers into ash and dust. All right. They have very powerful technology. They have bombs that can incinerate an entire city, but yet leave all the buildings standing. Yeah, they got some really wicked technology out there, most of which the public will never see. But yet, we're still like ostriches with our heads in the sand, believing any and everything that they tell us. If the government says it, it must be right, because the government would never lie, right? The government would never deceive the people. The government would never do this or that. The government is holy. Everything that the U.S. government does and says is right and just. Everything that the military industrial complex does and says is right. If they say they're weapons of mass destruction, yes, they are. Even though our U.S. intelligence service has time and time and time again been exposed as lacking and being exposed as 100% inadequate and incompetent. This is the same intelligence forces that told us that there were weapons of mass destruction. And then when it was revealed that there were never any weapons of mass destruction, all they did was laugh at a dinner, laughing over dinner. After you have killed thousands of people, men, women, and children, for no reason other than oil conquest, you used the emotional appeal of 9/11 as an excuse to go in and bully a nation and take their natural resources. And when the arms way to do it, the gangster guerrilla tactic can't be used, you go in and you use debt to entangle a nation, knowing that they cannot repay the debt. So after you have economically assassinated them, you then get to step in without even firing a shot and still take over their natural resources, when taking over the natural resources was the real agenda all along. It's the world that we live in, folks, and it is whack. It is 100% whack. Whack. Now, here's another thing. This should show you that Mr. Buffett is not what everyone says that he is. Did he really think airline stocks was a place to be? Did he really think that that was going to be the hot new sector to make him even richer? Do you think he just didn't know? You got to remember, Mr. Berkshire gets to do whatever he wants to do. He gets to enter into sweetheart deals that you and I cannot enter into. They're not available to us. But he gets all the deals. He gets to buy stocks and get special dividends on said stocks where no one else is getting a dividend on the stocks. He gets to have these really, methodical and complex situations that you and I don't get to do. So that's just normally how it is. That's why he's able to make money on just about every deal that he does. But the key word here is just about. It is not every deal. He does lose money. He is not a trader. He is an investor, which is different. He is able to get sweetheart deals that the public cannot get. He's basically a quasi-government entity in and of himself. When you think Warren Buffett or Berkshire Hathaway, you should be thinking Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. But that's basically what he is. Don't forget, this individual acted as a Freddie Mac and a Fannie Mae back during the 2008 financial crisis. Remember, he infused Goldman Sachs with cash. He kept them afloat. They were supposed to go out of business. But instead, he came in and acted as a government agency and bailed them out. Who knows what sweetheart deal he got from doing that was never disclosed to the public. They get to do things that normal people cannot do. Just remember that, okay? He is not some big, incredible speculator. He is not a trader. He's not that man. George Soros is more of a trader than Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's a famous investor. George Soros is a trader, for real. Even though he's also part of that world system and does a lot of whack things with his wealth, he is still, you can't take that away from him. Again, the book that he wrote, The Alchemy of Finance, very deep work. A lot of things that he said in there were a lot of truth nuggets that professional traders, i.e. hedge fund managers, things of that nature, people who were written about in the Market Wizard series, they can relate to some of the things that he was saying in that book. I too can. There are some things that you cannot quantify. There are truths that he was spitting in that book. And don't forget who his partner was, the very humble Mr. Rogers. All right, Jim Rogers was his partner. They had a firm together. All right, they started off together. But Mr. Rogers, to hear him say, he said, "Oh, I'm terrible at market timing. I'm terrible at timing these markets, trading these markets." You gonna tell me he didn't learn nothing sitting next to Soros all them years? Whatever, don't buy it. Mr. Rogers is a humble dude, but he is also no idiot. He'll make you think he cannot trade, but the man can trade because that's how he started off. See, when you don't know the history of things, you don't understand what's going on now in the here and now. So you have to know the history of things so you can see where all of this is going. Why do you think Mr. Buffett wrote what he did and exposed that over the weekend? Because over the weekend, markets are closed. What he really wants is a Black Monday. He wants this to be just a preposterous event where all of these stocks just fall to the floor, including the airline stocks, so that he can buy everything up for pennies on the dollar. Remember, he's a value investor. All right? When you think value investing, you think Mr. Warren Buffett. All right? When you think, you look it up in the dictionary, his picture of his face is there, okay? He wishes that there was a market crash every month. That way he could buy when it crashed, and then when it rallied up right before it's about to crash again, he takes profit, waits for it to crash, and just watch, rinse, and repeat every month. He wishes that. That is his wish. If he had a magic wand, that's what would be happening right now. Dow would be down a couple of thousand points when he could go in and buy all his favorite companies and stocks for pennies on the dollar, sit back and laugh, and then talk the market up on Tuesday and say, yeah, The market was overdone yesterday. That was a knee-jerk reaction. That really shouldn't have happened. I think the bottom is in, and I think the economy is going to be on a mega bounce. See why he talks that. Now everyone wants to go in and buy because Warren Buffett said the market's going to go up. It's a wash, rinse, and repeat, and it's for your benefit. All right? That's what they do. People talk their book. He was just talking his book. All right? That's what they do. They don't tell you what they're doing. Are you kidding? They're not going to help you make money. They despise you. They don't. The fact that you exist is making their skin itch. They're telling you things that they want you to do so that they can profit even more, because it's never really about money per se with them, because they never have enough. It's about power and control. They like being able to say something and have the markets move on it. That's their modus operandi. So do not believe that Mr. Buffett is letting you know this because he cares about you and he doesn't want you to lose money in the market. So he's letting you know, hey man, I'm getting out of these airline stocks. Don't believe it. All right, now let's go into the other side of the spectrum. All right, here's an argument of why assets are going to crash, including the ones that Mr. Buffett was holding. All right, this is how it happens. They're boats that were once worth tens of thousands of dollars are set adrift by owners who can no longer afford to pay slip fees. The increasing concentration of the ownership of wealth assets in the top 10% has an underappreciated consequence. Dun, dun, dun. What is that? When only the top 10% can afford to buy assets, that unleashes an almost karmic payback for the narrowing of ownership, aka soaring wealth and income inequality. Asset crash. Assets they crash off of that. No one can afford to buy your stuff. What happens to the prices? Most of you are aware that the bottom 90% own very little other than their labor, tradable only in full employment, and modest amounts of home equity that are highly vulnerable to a collapse of the housing bubble. The same can be said of China's middle class, only more so, as 75% of China's household wealth is in real estate, more than double the percentage of wealth held in housing in U.S. households. It should also be noted that China owns quite a bit of real estate wealth here in the United States. All right. Over 90% of all business equity and over 80% of all non-home real estate. The top 10% own 84% of all stocks. The concentration of ownership of assets such as vintage autos, collectibles, art, pleasure craft, and second homes in the top 10% is likely even greater. The more expensive the asset, the greater the concentration of ownership, as the top 5% own roughly 2/3 of all wealth. The top 1% own 40%, and the top 0.1% own 20%. In other words, the more costly the asset, the narrower the ownership. Total number of U.S. households is about 128 million. So the top 5% is around 6 million households, and the top 1% is 1.2 million households. This goes back to something that very few people understand, and that's quantity over quality. Going back to the whole real estate example, a lot of realtors, banks, loan officers alike, those that specialize in higher end properties, as a rule, they sell less properties than the average super successful realtor or bank or loan officer, because what they're selling costs more. So there's a smaller pool of people that can afford to buy them. So it's not uncommon for a mansion, an old school mansion to set on the market for years. as opposed to, you know, a middle-class house in the suburbs. They may set just for a couple of months before it gets sold. All right, so those are facts. Once again, if I own a Rolls-Royce dealership, I'm going to sell less Rolls-Royces than the Nissan dealership across the street, but I make more per car than they do. So technically, they're going to outsell me. They're going to sell more physical cars than me, but I may still end up making more money, depending on how many of those cars I can sell. You see what I'm saying? So the more things cost, the less people can afford them, the less money you make if you're going for quality. But if you're going for quantity, then you're willing to sell the cheaper stuff because you're going to make it up in volume. Everybody following with that? All right. So the top 0.1% now own more than the bottom 80%. Share of American wealth owned by the top 1%, the top 0.1%, and the bottom 80% of American adults. It is staggering. This means the pool of potential buyers is relatively small, even if we include global wealth owners, like I just finished saying. Since price is set on the margins and assets like houses are illiquid, do you know how many people don't realize that and don't understand that fully? Real estate, for the most part, is illiquid. And what that means is it's not something like stocks that are marked to the market every day. All right, or futures or forex or crypto. It's marked to the market every day. For the most part, there's a buyer for every seller and a seller for every buyer when it comes to the financial markets. That's not the case when it comes to real estate, to real property. All right, totally different thing. Not as liquid, so we call it illiquid. If something's not liquid, it's considered illiquid. If I can't sell it right now, not a month from now, not a week from now, but right now, and get the price I want right now, or close to it, then that is an illiquid asset. And yes, stocks can be illiquid too. Talking more so of penny stocks or new stocks or new ETFs can be quite illiquid. Certain futures contracts, commodity futures contracts, can be quite illiquid. All right, remember that. Then we can anticipate all the markets for assets owned solely by the wealthy to go bidless. Yachts, collectibles, vacation real estate, because the pool of buyers is small, and if that pool gets cautious due to a drop in net worth or unearned income, there won't be any buyers except at the margins at an incredible discount. Remember the example I gave to y'all last week. You know, can you imagine getting to a situation where you finally can afford to buy the house that you want, the car that you want to drive, and it's at a ridiculous price. You know, someone comes to you and say, look, man, I want to sell you my mansion. I'm going to sell you it's going to be fully furnished. The finest paintings, rarest art paintings hanging on the wall, French furniture, all that good stuff, jacuzzi, swimming pools, 29 fireplaces, 800 bedrooms, bowling alley, you fill in the blanks. It got all of that in there. And I'm going to give you all the cars that are parked in front of the house. I got Bentley Rolls Royces and Lamborghinis, and I got all types of stuff. I got a couple of Bugattis out there. I'm going to give it all to you, my man. All I need from you is $20. Give me $20 right now so I can go get me this sandwich real quick, and we'll be good to go. Or forget that. I don't want $20. Matter of fact, just give me a sandwich. Give me a couple. Give me like 3-4 sandwiches. Can you make me some sandwiches? And then you got yourself a deal. You be looking at dude sad because you're like, all I gotta do is give him some sandwiches. But here's the problem: you don't have any bread. He says he wants bologna sandwiches. You don't have any bread, and you don't have any bologna because you can't afford bologna because bologna is now $59 a pack. You don't have any bologna. You don't have any bread. You can't make this deal happen, even though you want to. You can't make the deal happen. The deal of a lifetime in your eyes, you can't close it because you don't have bread. You can't get any bread. You don't have meat, and you can't get any meat. No deal. You just blew the deal of a lifetime. That's how this feels. That's how this feels. Since few of the current bubble era asset valuations, that's where we're going now. As we know, in a neighborhood of 100 homes currently valued at $1 million each, when a desperate seller accepts $500,000, the value of the other 99 homes immediately drops to $500,000. That is a fact in real estate that people don't like to talk about, especially the real estate bugs. That's all they do is talk about real estate. I made my first million in real estate. That's all I know. That's all I do. But since few of the current bubble era asset valuations are supported by actual income fundamentals, then the sales price boils down to a very small number of potential buyers and what they're willing to pay. Now let's stop right there for a moment. Let me fill you in on the reality of this last statement. Those of you who don't know and weren't participating in the past couple of real estate bubbles we had, what I just read to you is a fact, because if you bought your house for $1 million, but you sell it for 500,000, I'm going to be looking bad too, because now I paid $1 million for mine too, and I was hoping to at least get close to it, but now I'm only going to get 500,000 if I'm lucky, because you sold yours for 500,000. There is a rule in underwriting where normally you like to start off in the neighborhood where the houses are located. You find houses in kind and get those appraised first. If you can make the argument that your house is different and very special because your house has a swimming pool and none of the other houses in your community have a swimming pool, you can make an argument that just for that factor alone, yours is more expensive and should be $1 million while those are 500,000, right? Now, under normal circumstances, you might be right and you might have a deal. But here's what they're going to do. All right, the appraiser's going to go out. Now he's going to go a mile away from the house and try to find like-minded homes. Can't find it. So he goes 2 miles out, then 3 miles out. And then some underwriters are very flexible. They let you go 5 miles out, but that's about it. And that's extreme. They normally only go like a mile away. And maybe they say, no, you can go 5 miles. You go and you still can't find the similar square footage and the amenities that your home has in the pool to warrant that $1 million valuation. And because they're looking at the sales in your area, the last sales that took place for anything close to your house, if they can't find the exact thing, they'll find something as close as they can to it. If it's still 500,000 or even 400,000, then you're out of luck. They'll give you the 5 because of the pool, but that's all you're going to get as far as an appraised value on your home. No matter what you say, no matter what you think, the underwriting guidelines are going to slap you with that 500,000 valuation. Most people are not privy to how underwriting works because they didn't work in the industry. I did, so I can talk authoritatively on the subject. All right, so now you got that done. All right, here we go. Houses have a value based on rent, of course, but rents will drop very quickly for the same reason. Prices are set on the margins. The most desperate landlords will drop rents and reset the rental market from the margins. If demand plummets, which it will, as people can no longer afford rents in hot urban markets once they lose their jobs, then vacancies will soar and rents will crash, as a few desperate landlords will take $1,200 a month instead of $2,500 a month. Now, there's a lot of truth to that. All right, there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of the snobby, stuck-up places where they want all this money because that's what the market had always bared up until that point. They will be desperate because now they're forced to pay that mortgage. See, the way you do real estate correctly, if you're going to do residential anyway, residential is a little bit different than the commercial side for various factors. But on the residential side, if you're going to do it and you want to do it as an income and not a liability, you want to do it as an asset, not a liability. So for this example, let's say that in this particular market, the paragraph I just read to you, let's assume that $2,500 a month was going to net the owner of the house $500 net every month because his mortgage on the house is $2,000. Okay, let's just say the mortgage, when you include, everything, taxes, insurance, maintenance and upkeep on the place. If anything breaks down, he has to go and fix it. Let's say that that's $2,000. All right. Even worst case scenario, it's never gone above $2,000. Mortgage, everything included, right? So if he rents for $2,500, he's making a $500 profit, a net profit, not a gross, but a net profit after his mortgage and all these expenses. All right, so he's always been netting a $500 profit, right? That's going to make him well over $5,000 in profit per year. He actually gets to write this home down as an asset and not a liability. It's not a liability because even though he owes a mortgage on the house is generating net income. All right, so it's almost analogous to the bank writing him a $500 check every month for every month that he owns that house. See what I'm saying? So in a situation like that, his house is an asset, not a liability. All right. It's actually giving him income. He's netting income every month. But when the economy takes a nosedive, now he can know that the market will no longer bear $2,500 a month. So now he has to eat that. Let's say that this homeowner is a little bit underwater and really can't, front that whole nut, himself. That's why he was renting this out. Instead of it being just a vacation house, he had to make it a residential rental because he can no longer afford that nut on the house. So according to his finances, he has to at least bring in $1,200 a month just to be able to kind of break even a little bit, if you know what I mean. Like he can afford to pay the rest. It will no longer be an asset. It will no longer be a net income. It'll be a loss now for him because now he has to go and dip into his own pockets to cover that mortgage, right? So he has to come up with the remaining, $1,000. If he can only get 1,200, okay, technically speaking, he needs 800. So he has to come out of his pockets $800 now. But let's say he can't because his income has changed, and now he needs to hold 2,500, or he can't pay his mortgage. Well, guess what? Now that's another individual in trouble. Now the housing market is in trouble. Now he has to try to sell the house and get whatever he can for it. And if he's only going to collect less than what he paid for it because of the home valuations, he paid $1 million. Now he's only getting $500,000 for it. He's still in the hole for $500,000. You see what I'm saying? So that's a situation that is really not really talked about. You owe $1 million, you can only sell it for $500,000. You still owe $500,000. You're basically now stuck paying a mortgage on a house you no longer own. You're paying a $500,000 nut on a home you don't even own, player. Because the bank says they want their money. And let's say you only had one mortgage on the house. So that bank is in first lien position. You didn't get a second mortgage. Usually people who get the second mortgage holder is in second lien position, and they're usually the ones that are left holding the bag because everything's going to go to the first lien position holder. So in your situation here, in this case, you only got one bank, and they have first lien position, and they got what they could out of selling the house, but you still owe $500,000. All right. So what happens when this starts multiplying? It's not just this one homeowner in this neighborhood, but it's pretty much everyone in the neighborhood. Now you have a housing crisis going on because now you have entire communities where no one can afford to pay their mortgage. It is starting to sound a little familiar to you guys. It should, because that's what we're dealing through right now with the economy being shut down and everyone being forced into a bankrupt state. Due to the multi-year building boom of multifamily buildings and hot job markets, which inevitably leads to an oversupply once the boom ends, there are now hundreds of vacancies where there were once only a few dozen, and thousands where there were previously only hundreds. As millions of waitstaff, bartenders, etc., who made good money in tips find their jobs have vanished, or the urban hotspots will see mass migration. Seattle, Portland, the San Francisco Bay Area, LA, New York City, Denver, etc., as demand for rentals will evaporate and rents will be set on the margins by the most desperate landlords. Everyone holding out for the previous bubble era rent will have zero income as their units are vacant. Okay. So now we see. All right. Now we see. We see what's going on. All right. Moving forward. Tech startups and unicorns are melting like ice cubes in Death Valley. And the tech sector layoffs are already in the tens of thousands. This wave of highly paid techies losing their jobs will become a tsunami, further reducing the pool of people who can afford rents of $2,500 to $3,000 for a studio or one-bedroom apartment. Now, we don't call them studios in the hood. We call them efficiencies. You're paying $3,000 a month for an efficiency. What in the world? What in the world? The concentration of ownership generates a self-reinforcing feedback that further depresses prices. Have you watched me in the end of the day report pull up the IYR ticker, the commercial real estate REIT ETF? Have you seen it? The mortgage-backed security IYR ETF. The concentration of ownership generates a self-reinforcing feedback that further depressed prices since the top 10% own most of the assets of the nation. They are most prone to a reversal of the wealth effect. As their assets soared in value, the top 10% felt wealthier and more confident in future gains, enabling them to borrow and spend freely on second homes, pleasure craft, new vehicles, collectibles, luxury travel, etc. Once even one class of assets plummets in value, for example, the recent decline in the stock market, the wealth effect reverses and the top 10% feel poorer and less confident about their future gains and thus less enthused about borrowing and spending. The demand for other costly assets quickly evaporates further, reducing the wealth of the ownership class, which further reduces their desire and ability to buy bubble era assets. See how this circle goes around and around? The high price assets owned by the top 10% will be the assets least in demand due to their high cost and potential for enormous losses. Enormous losses. Enormous losses. Nothing loses value faster in a recession, or should we say depression, than narrowly owned assets such as vintage cars, art, vacation homes, yachts, jet planes, helicopters. And don't forget, mail order brides can also be quite expensive when after a month of you sealing your marriage, they decide they want to divorce you and take half. They say, thanks for getting me to the country, but I don't need you no more. Peace. I want half. Once assets start sliding in value, the reverse wealth effect quickly drives up demand for all asset classes with narrow ownership. Since these assets are illiquid, that is, the market for them is thin, with buyers few and far between, the prices are set by a very shallow pool of buyers and desperate sellers. We call that, ladies and gentlemen, a buyer's market. Oh, yeah. Consider a pleasure craft that retails new for $120,000. In the boom era of rising stocks and housing, a used boat might fetch for $65,000. But as the wealth of the small pool of households able to buy and maintain a costly craft evaporates, The number of qualified borrowers evaporates too. Qualified borrowers. That right there is a wormhole in and of its own. Qualified means good credit, good income. But in a depression, even your A credit borrowers become E credit because they can't pay their bills. So their homes go into foreclosure, their cars get repossessed, their lifestyle gets repossessed. No more A paper. Now everybody is subprime paper. You can't buy a sandwich on credit. You can't eat. That's what happens. And here's a funny thing too. In general, and I know most people don't think about these things. Again, if you're not in the industry, then you won't think about these things. But I think some truth needs to be spilled here on the show this morning. So I'm going to spill it. I'm going to spill the tea for you. In general, under normal circumstances, is it not a fact that you need good credit in order to rent an apartment? Is it not a fact that under normal circumstances, you need to have good credit to buy a home? Notice I didn't say great credit to rent an apartment. I didn't say great credit to buy a home. I said good credit. You need relatively good credit to rent an apartment. You need to have relatively good credit to rent a home. You need to have relatively good credit to buy or lease or rent a car, right? You need to have relatively good credit to do just about anything on credit. Well, can you tell me something? Why is it then, and if that's the case, why is it that in landlord-tenant court, you see so many non-rent payment situations going on? There are times where you can have there's a full docket. They may have a couple of hundred cases to deal with. Now, for you, that may sound shocking, but let me just break it down a little bit. It's not all that on the surface. You can have one lawyer that represents a particular real estate company that may own a couple of apartment buildings. And, he may have 100 people that he's evicting because of non-payment, okay, of rent. Okay. So he has to evict these people. But wait a minute. Didn't we just establish that you have to have reasonably good credit to rent an apartment? So then who's being evicted? Because bad credit people cannot rent an apartment. Only good credit people can rent an apartment. So why are the landlord-tenant courts so full all the time? I'll tell you why. Because of what we've been talking about. The cycles of the economy. When the bubble bursts, when the boom turns to bust, when the gold turns to dust. This is what happens. Now, do you see why the bad credit people got the bad rap during the 2008 financial crisis? It wasn't a financial crisis. It was a housing crisis, and it was an A paper housing crisis. The A paper went belly up first, but they will lead you to believe that it was all the deadbeat subprime mortgage. They called it the subprime mortgage crisis. It was not the subprime mortgage crisis. It was the A paper credit mortgage crisis. Because remember, relatively good credit people, they were able to go and they were able to get FHA loans, or they were able to get they could get they could go the other way, but for the most part it was a lot of FHA loans, things like that. But the good credit people, they could go conventional. They can get a conventional mortgage, and they can get the Ninas and the Ninjas. You can't get a Nina and Ninja under the FHA guideline. That does not exist. You had to have good credit to get an FHA loan, not bad credit, not subprime credit. You had to have good credit, and your debt to income ratios couldn't be ridiculous or out of whack, or you wasn't getting that loan, player. So the truth of the matter is, everything that you're seeing is a lie. They would lead you to believe that subprime people with bad credit, are the deadbeats and the ones that are always in trouble when it's the opposite. It's the A paper. Look again. Landlord-tenant court is about people with relatively good to great credit being taken to court for non-payment in regular normal times. Remember, I said in normal times, not now, not these times. I said normal times. Normal times. Landlord-tenant courts across the country are always full to the max with people that had good or great credit. And yes, on the commercial paper side of things, the landlord-tenant courts were full for them too. They were full for non-payment. That is the cycle of things, folks. It's how things go down. It's how things work. When people's money gets funny, then that's the way they got to go. They can't pay. They can't afford to pay. What are you going to do when people can't afford to pay? I'm just saying, you know? So just want to let y'all know that the truth of the matter is not what the people say it is. I think it's kind of like, I don't want to say like a racial thing per se, but it is kind of that way. They want you to think that, you know, the non-middle class, the people, the lower class are the ones of all the problems and they're the deadbeats, when in fact it's the other way around. It's the A paper, it's the good credit people, because especially during times of boom, they're the ones that are using their credit and buying the nice houses and the nice cars and the nice suits and the vacation homes. All right. That is the truth, folks, that you need to know right there in your face. You know what I'm saying? Now, the question is, what are we going to do about it? Because this right here is a depression we're faced with. All right. So we need to go in with that. A lot more can be said on the subject, but I see the show of hands in the live stream. You want to know, what am I seeing in the Bitcoin market? You have a gut feeling that Bitcoin market will react viciously to the halving event. No, it's more to it than that, folks. Let me tell you real quick, because I know my memory ain't gonna jive me so well. So I'll tell you what it is. My man put it up earlier. Yeah, my man Da Vinci covered this morning. If y'all didn't see it, J.P. Morgan Chase is buying Bitcoin. Yeah, that came out. My man Da Vinci broke that story. You guys know I'm talking about. Da Vinci. It's DAVINCIJ15 here on YouTube. That's my peoples right there. He did a live before me this morning. JP Morgan Chase is buying Bitcoin, so please don't buy Bitcoin. That's the title of his his live stream if y'all missed it. So yeah, he covered that. That's an issue in and of itself. Remember, I told when I broke the story, people laughed at me when I said that, you know, the big players had entered into the crypto market. Everybody was laughing. So I know I was talking about. I'm not sure if that's a good or bad sign. To be quite honest with you, I would have to see how the market plays out today to be able to make that statement. Okay. I'm a little between. I don't want to scare people to death. The halving doesn't really make a difference in my perspective, because since we've been in this situation, we've had halving, we've had forks, we've had all these events, and it hasn't killed the market. If anything, it made the market stronger. But all right, Lucas, you think that Bitcoin will be abandoned by the end of the year? Well, you know what, man? I don't believe that the crypto markets are going anywhere, to be honest with you. but there is a slight 1% chance of something crazy. All right, you open the door. Let's explore it. On this show here, we don't run from nothing. We embrace everything. We have no censorship. We have no filter. We will go there if it's something we need to go there. So you raised the question, brought up a good point that Bitcoin will be abandoned by the end of the year. The question will be why. So you wrote a follow-up. You said most of the miners are barely breaking even at current prices, and no one is using Bitcoin. It is a matter of time before it's over for Bitcoin. Very interesting that you make that point, but let's explore it for a little bit. All right, so what would it take to bring that to pass? Because that is also a possibility, because we are dealing with the unknown. We don't know the future. We can only look at signs, symbols, and alerts. All right, so in order for Bitcoin to be dethroned, something else would have to take its place. I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere. Here's my hypothesis for that. A lot of money behind the scenes has been spent on betting on Bitcoin, not against. What do I mean by that? Look at the exchanges, how they have gone out of their way to create a Bitcoin futures composite index, and they have also built a composite index for Bitcoin Cash, I think, EOS, Ethereum, Litecoin. These all have futures composite indexes, even though they're not tradables. Bitcoin is the only one that's tradable right now, but the others are not tradable as futures contracts yet. You wouldn't be putting money into that to think that it's going to end up going somewhere or unlisted. I'll tell you what I see possibly, though, since we're going down this rabbit hole. Let's deal with it. Let's explore it. Okay, so we know that the nations of the world have been basically making this an arms race or a space race. Everyone's trying to be the first to get to the moon. So you've had all these countries now saying, yeah, we're going to make our own, we're going to turn our country's money into a crypto-based currency, a digital currency. Everybody is going to do that. All right. So the US has already announced that they're doing it too. Now, we know that the US is still considered the world superpower above all other superpowers. We already know this to be factual. What else do we know? We also know that at this point in time, the central banks want to be the ones to control the money, and that they've been pushing for a one world currency. Now, you would think that, well, that's very generous. They want a one world currency. That way, no one person's controlling it. That's not true, because right now the U.S. dollar index is still acting as the world's reserve currency, and the U.S. control it. I believe that your Bitcoin hypothesis could see legs if the central banks see it as a direct competitor and therefore a direct threat to the digital US dollar. What can they do? They can't stop it, and they can only bully their way into it, but that can only go but so far. You will still have, countries and spaces that say, bug off, you're not telling us what to do. So I think what would end up happening under some type of Emergency Powers Act, perhaps, where they could outlaw and make it illegal for U.S. citizens to access the crypto market in general, if that itself is even possible. Now, we know that over the course of the last several years, the U.S. has been bullying other countries to the point where they're like, you are not allowed to knowingly allow U.S. citizens to open a crypto account and trade with you. Some of you, or most of you, probably are unaware of that, but that is something that went on behind the scenes and it was not publicized. The U.S. gangstered other countries and said, you will not allow U.S. citizens to open crypto trading accounts with you. That's why a lot of these exchanges would not allow American citizens access. And the only way around it was through a VPN. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So if that be the case, that could it could be a resurgence of that. Remember, China did it too. China banned its citizens from participating in the crypto market, period. And again, the only way around that was through a VPN if you were successful in doing that. Okay. I'm just saying that that's the only way I see it happening is if the U.S. say it's illegal to do it, and they could make it a felony offense. Because remember, the only way for them to get anything done, the only way America gets its way is through threat of violence. So they would have to say it's a felony, and they would have to pick someone, pick a very weak target to set an example and scare everyone to death, like, hey, this could happen to you. So they'll show in the news where the authorities raided a person's home, came in with guns blazing, all right, snatched up dude's laptop, shot the family dog and the family cat because this dude was mining Bitcoin illegally or trading in Bitcoin illegally. And remember, they've already set the precedent. They've already programmed America's psychology against it by saying that it's mainly used by criminals in the underworld. So it won't be a surprise if they start doing that and saying they're cracking down on this illegal activity. I don't think it's beneath the U.S. government to sprinkle a little bit of powder at the crime scene to say that drugs were involved and dude was a drug dealer. If that's what they need to do, they'll do it. Okay. That's the only way I see that happening. I think that would be a stretch at this point. I saw your other point, how basically all the altcoins are coupled to the Bitcoin. Well, that's true, but that doesn't kill the market. Don't forget, the forex market is coupled to the US dollar. All right. You got a lot of pairs coupled to the US dollar, so they move inversely to the US dollar. See what I'm saying? So if we're going to make that argument, then we would all truths would have to be parallel in this hypothesis that we're going down the rabbit hole of. If your dollar is weak, then those other ones would have to be weak too. They couldn't be strong on the back of that. They would have to be weak. Just saying, it wouldn't make any sense. They would have to be up. They would just have to. There's no way that they could not be up. All right, here's another way to put it. Okay, for forex pairs that begin with USD in front, you're basically trading, the dollar per se is like the front. So it's the Canadian dollar should be up if the US dollar is up. Anything that has USD in front, so USD/CAD is Canadian dollar. All right. So it's going to be up when the dollar index is up. So you could make the same argument there. And this has been designed that way, and the market's been doing great ever since. The euro dollar moves the opposite of the dollar index because EUR is the front contract on the euro dollar secondary. So it's the euro going against the dollar. If you're buying euros, you're basically in essence shorting the dollar. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's why the Japanese yen exploded because it starts with the USD in front of the JPY. So it's going to do what the dollar index does. If the dollar index is bullish, then that one should be bullish too. Forex can be quite complicated, and a lot of economists and finance people have debated the whole thing for years of like what really goes into it, how is it made up, what is it made up of, the US dollar index I'm talking about. And there's been debate and stuff and struggle surrounding that for years. So I can say I get it. And arguments can be made all over the place. I just go by what is most likely in said scenario, and that's kind of the way I will be looking at it right now. I see it like that. I see it as, what's happening at the present. And at present, like I said, the Canadian dollar and the Japanese yen are positive today. They're up a few pips because what? Because the US dollar index is up a few pips, and they will move with the dollar. That's the way that goes. It's something to think about. I mean, neither one of us are wrong. We, both of our hypotheses have merit to it. You know what I'm saying? All right, so Lucas says the technology flaws in Bitcoin will be the only thing that brings it down. There will be a pump after the halving, and it will be the whales exiting before it dies. What you bring up a strong argument there, Lucas. I think the halving is going to be the real test of the validity of the Bitcoin. It should succeed because so much money has already been invested into it. Another point could be made, and it's the opposite of what my man Da Vinci was saying. If you can look at it this way, you could say, okay, if JP Morgan is announcing that they're buying Bitcoin, maybe they know something about the halving that other people don't, and they want to get in while it's still relatively cheap. Because let's say after the halving, it goes to 20,000. In other words, the people that are in control of the managing and or manipulating of something usually would be the ones to be in the know, but because they're part of the powers that be and they're technically part of the central bank, you can't trust what they say. Maybe they're saying that because they want it to go higher in the interim leading up to the halving so they can come in and short the stuffings of it. I've never known JP Morgan to buy anything. If anything, JP Morgan is known as shorters of the market. So is Goldman Sachs. Does the precious metal markets ring a bell? They've been shorting and manipulating those markets forever. So I think that's where we are. I think we're a ways off, though, on the one world asset. That one world currency is not, that's going to take some time. We will eventually get there, but it's going to take some time. It's like the one world government. That is coming. It is going to happen, but it's not today. Does that make sense? I think that the one world currency and the one world government doesn't come on the back of a good place. I think it comes on the back of chaos as a response to chaos. Problem, action, solution. I think that's where we are, the problem, reaction, solution. We're not there yet. I think the one world government is a response to total global anarchy. I think the one world currency is in a response to a global financial collapse, so to speak. There really won't be a collapse, but it will be a planned and coordinated effort from the central bank powers that be, because they want the one world thing. They want the one world government. They want the one world coin. So in order to do that, you have to get rid of the old system, the old infrastructure. The only way to get rid of an old infrastructure is by destruction. Not just simply saying, okay, guys, we're turning over. We're doing this tomorrow, starting tomorrow, so get ready for it, okay? It's not daylight savings time, folks. We're talking about destruction. I'll give you a perfect example of that. There must be removal of the structure before a new structure can go up. Before they built the new, the new tower located at the World Trade Center location, they had to first destroy the old towers. You can't put up a new tower at the same place where a current tower already exists. There must be destruction of the old tower. The old building must be destroyed. There must be destruction. There is no other way aside from destruction, total and complete destruction. Same way for the financial system, and same thing for the world governments. In order for the one world government to come to pass, there has to be destruction of the old regime. The old world government infrastructure has to be destroyed. And the only thing that will destroy each sovereign nation saying, no, I am independent, I am autonomous, is something globally catastrophic. And it would have to bring about anarchy for a time and complete and utter lawlessness on the heels of it. All right. So I believe that destruction, physical destruction of world governments must take place on some scale, just like the physical destruction of the world financial system will have to take place before the new infrastructure could be built on the back of that. Something will have to be manufactured. It would have to be some type of cataclysm. Could it be a meteor strike, like the movie Sudden Impact or Deep Impact? I'm not saying Sudden Impact, Deep Impact, or the movie Armageddon. It had to be something like that to cause such upheaval that things are out of control and need to be brought back into control. That's the only way you can bring all the world powers together, if they all suffer equally, if they all are in need equally and at the same time. You can't just have one country chilling and totally unaffected and all the other nations are affected. If you're going to bring in a one world thing, it's going to have to be some type of outside situation in order to bring that about. Now, I'm not saying that man and his ingenuity cannot come up with a manufactured crisis to create this. I'm just saying it's going to take something wonderful, magnificently cataclysmic in order to bring this about. It doesn't just happen organically because people love each other and decide, hey, let's just go ahead and sing Kumbaya and hold hands and do what we have to do. Okay. So we have to understand that, folks. That's not today. It's not tomorrow. This coronavirus thing is nothing compared to what I've been talking about. I'm talking about something, like I said, a meteor or asteroid striking the earth. Doesn't matter if it hits the ocean, doesn't matter if it hits land. It would have to be something catastrophic happening, in our world to bring that about. It could be a global depression. A global depression could be used to bring that about because of every nation of the earth is collapsed, so to speak. People can't eat. There would be rioting. There would be civil unrest. There would be anarchy. You wouldn't have enough police or military to bring all that in check. That would be impossible. Okay? You know what I mean, Lucas. You know what I'm talking about. But you know what? Don't know. But asteroids and stuff. There is some evidence that is kind of possible. Now, I don't know if it already exists in the natural, though, Lucas, but I don't know if it already exists. Okay, fine. But even if it doesn't exist, we know it's going to be brought into existence at some point in our future because that's been talked about in the book of Revelation. All right. The mountain, the wormwood, whatever, smashing into the earth. So we know that's coming. So, That part is what it is. Yeah, I believe you and I share the same belief there, Lucas. 100%. Yeah, yeah, it's not. We we visited this in our last broadcast. We talked about that in on Friday. But my point being, though, it would have to be something either naturally cataclysmic or man-made cataclysmic. So World War III could bring this about. If we had global thermal nuclear war, that would definitely bring about disease, pestilence, financial collapse, all the stuff, anarchy, all the things, all the unintended consequences that a war like that would bring. I could see that ushering in the one world government. I could see that ushering in the one world currency, something like that. Or, like I said, it could be something natural. There are things right now that the U.S. is praying doesn't happen. That's looking like it's about to happen, and that's what if Yellowstone erupts? Have you guys seen the movie? I think it's on Netflix. The movie about Yellowstone erupting, that joint was off the chain, but guess what? I think they downplayed that severely. But basically, they showed you how when and if, or more so not if, but when Yellowstone blows, the thing could be blowing for months, nonstop, exploding, several explosions, one after the other, back to back to back to back to back, non-stop explosions going on for months. And really, to be quite honest with you, they don't know really how long it could go on. It could go on indefinitely. We're talking an eruption bigger than any eruption in recorded history, because Yellowstone is a super duper volcano, and it doesn't erupt, like Mount St. Helens. It can, a volcano like Mount St. Helens can blow its top, or it could just, spit the lava and have the lava flow. But Yellowstone is a super duper volcano where there's no magma flowing down a hill, and no, we're talking explosive and exploding volcanic sequence that would spit so much debris into the atmosphere that it would choke out the oxygen out of the atmosphere. We're talking, pretty much everything like within 1,000-mile radius being incinerated. We're talking like a big hole in the middle of the U.S. We're talking like total cataclysm, catastrophe of an apocalyptic magnitude. All right, we're talking just one explosion, just one eruption. The first eruption would be analogous to like exploding 100 Hiroshima bombs times 10 times 100. We're talking about nuclear winter worldwide, not just the states. We're talking about when Yellowstone blows, Europe is struggling. They have problems breathing because all the fiberglass in the air, raining ash and soot down on just about every country on the planet. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about something like that. We're talking about the destruction of the ecosystem, destruction of crops around the world. We're talking total whackness on a scale beyond whackness. And that's just the first explosion. The movie showed several explosions, some even bigger than the first explosion. It was just explosions after explosion after explosion, non-stop. We're talking like the United States being under like 10 feet of ash. All right, just devastation. And then it didn't stop there. Because of the eruption, we're talking the big one hit. We're talking about like California being split in half and turning into an island, separating totally from the country, becoming an island. We're talking that kind of stuff. We're talking about, that fault line that runs up down the East Coast being set off. We're talking just cataclysm after cataclysm. All right. So this is what's up. this is what they were saying in the movie. All right, they were talking about what's going on in the movie. So I say all that to say I believe that it could be a lot of things. All right, a lot of things that maybe we haven't even considered that could have happened to kick this off. But make no mistake, it would have to be a very, very, very enormous world event to cause chaos and calamity to bring that about. It's not just going to happen. I mean, look at the U.S.-China trade war. They can't even agree on the price of soybeans and corn. They can't even agree on the price of vegetables. And you think they're going to agree on all this other stuff? No way. Not going to happen. So I don't know what that's going to be. I don't think it's going to happen. I think right now we're just dealing with this whole coronavirus, the whole unintended consequences of the corona shutdown. And right now, like I said, if you look at the markets and what's happening right now, today is going to be a very important close. We keep having these days of important closes. Today is going to be an important close because of the Warren Buffett statement and the J.P. Morgan statement. Those two, I think, are going to be weighing heavily on the markets today. So we need to see some pretty decent closes before I say, okay, Bitcoin's looking like it's at the end of its rope and that's it. It's out of here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go there and say it's out of here. Not at least not just yet. We need to see how the markets are going to digest the news. And that's one of the reasons why I keep telling you guys, you cannot try to build a strategy off of trading off of news. And the reason being is because even if you know what the story is going to be, you just don't have any way of knowing how the market is going to take it. Markets have been known to rally heavily on terrible news, and they've been known to crash on great news. So this is what I see. I see that Bitcoin's real test is coming up real soon. And how it responds to this halving is going to be very telling for its future. It's going to really show us what this market can do if left alone and just allow for price discovery, organic price discovery. If we can have some organic price discovery, I think a lot can be done. A lot can be said for it in that situation. But the only issue and the only question is going to be, can we get that? See what I'm saying? Can we get price discovery? So yeah, treat the halving like you would any other market moving event. Treat it like a FOMC day. Would you put new trade positions on ahead of a FOMC announcement? Would you be long or short the market going into a Google earnings report? Only if you had a death wish. See what I'm saying? So all I'm saying to you is this is a big event. It's real. All right. You can't just dismiss it. And let's get there. Did my eyes deceive me? Did we get those 100 likes? Did we get those 100 likes? Please tell me my eyes are not deceiving me. Okay. We're gonna need to get it there. By the time I finish this live, if we get them 100 likes, I'm gonna break y'all off something proper. All right, I'm gonna break you off. Yeah, you don't want to put a new position on just like an earnings day or a government report. Anything that's important, you do not want to put on any big trades right before that halving happens. You want to let the event happen, stand aside, watch whatever happens, let whatever's going to happen on that day happen, and then you can get in the market and bang it out and do what you got to do. All right. So, like I said, we get 100 likes on the video. I got a little something for you. I'm gonna bless you, but only if we get 100 likes. Got to get that 100 likes, or that's gonna tell me y'all really don't love me. That's gonna tell me that y'all really take me for granted. That's gonna tell me that y'all just not that into me right now, and that you're engaged in other relationships. That means you're cheating on me. You over here dating other YouTube videos and YouTube live streams behind my back, and it's gonna break my heart. Why they treating on me like this? I thought we had something special. I thought that maybe one day we get married and have children, but no, I don't have the likes. All right, so anyway, this is where we at, folks. For the most part, it looks like a boring day. It looks like a regular Monday. This is the first regular Monday I think we've had in over a month. So we'll have to see what's up. You know what I'm saying? Oh, okay. What's up there? Hey, Lucas, man, you can come to the PulseWaveTrading.com and put and do a free account and have access to the free trading room. You know that, right? Yeah, man. Come on, don't be a stranger, peoples. Do not withhold your fellowship from me. It's all good. What else? Oh yeah. Okay. So this is what I did this morning. Actually, I didn't do it this morning. I did it yesterday afternoon. My bad. Okay. So the pickpocket report, if anyone looked at it, if you looked at DEX's watch list, those are all the pickpocket algo for the DEX's watch list today. All right. Your report is still the same, normal report, the same incredibly accurate, amazing report it's always been. But the DEX's watch list is the pickpocket joint all day, every day long. And I think we'll keep it like that for the time being. So I just want to let you know that. All right. So yeah, I gave you a taste of that last week. So I'm going to let you take a look at my report. All right. All premium members have access to my watch list, so you'll be able to see that. And it is all pickpocket because my list has always been pickpocket. And that's always been my own baby. I've never put it out there to the public or nothing like that. And I probably will never do that again, but hey, that's what I do. All right, so I will see the rest of you guys in the trading room later today, and everyone else I will see at the end of their report today. And like I said, if you want to see my watch list, that's for our pro members. All right, all premium/pro members. All right, so it's pro members. All right, thanks for helping me to correct that, Mr. Frank. But yeah, we are working on some cool things I'm not allowed to talk about because he has censored me. I mean, look, it wasn't bad enough, you guys, that social media is censoring me, but now my business partner is censoring me. What in the world is the world coming to where a man can't speak freely anymore? My own boy, my peoples, my home skillet, my home boy is censoring me now. I think I'm just gonna go curl up in a ball and cry in a corner somewhere because I don't have a mouth. I can't speak no more. I don't have a throat. I don't have a mouth. I can't talk. Everything I say is being censored. But he said some things are for my own good. I know, right? That's funny, man. That's funny. All right, I'm done, you guys. I could go so much more into this, but I don't want to bore people to death with 20-hour long broadcasts. I think we did what we need to do. We did what we came here to do. Yeah, I see that crude oil, man, looking whack. But but it's kind of volatile right now. It's near the highs of the session. It's up 17 cents. Remember, front month is your June contract. All right, that's your front month. And you guys who don't know, I love trading the micro things and mini things. So I trade E-minis and I like E-micros and I like micro forex. I just like micro stuff. It's just my thing. I can't explain why. I just like it. So I'm looking at the QM on the Thinkorswim. It's / Q is in Qbert, M is in Mary. And that thing is it's still barely positive, but it's near the highs of the session. The highs of the session is $20.55 on your oil. And nope, we still cannot trade. We are not allowed, all right, not permitted, forbidden to trade. Forbidden. We're forbidden to trade June or July front month crude oil contracts at the moment. They're not allowing it for whatever reason. They claim it's for our own good and to protect the firm because of severe, liquidity issues, things of that nature, because the Illuminati is still operating in the space and they're doing things that's not supposed to be happening in a commodity futures market. I think that's the thing that pees most people off the most, is that we're dealing with a commodity futures market. And for whatever reason, they will not allow for normal price discovery in the market. They push prices to negative, which is never supposed to happen. And then they come up with a whack backstory that only makes sense in a classroom looking at theory. All right. They made it seem like every crude oil trader or every crude oil contract is being taken for delivery. And that is not. I've already explained that to you guys ad infinitum, that you can't take delivery even if you wanted to take delivery. You got to fill out certain paperwork and get approval as a hedger. All right, if you're going to be taking delivery, okay, the average futures account trader does not ever take delivery, can never take delivery. You will always be settled in cash, even if for whatever reason you don't get out of your position. You will be taken out by your broker and you will be settled in cash. All right, that's how that works. So for them to say, well, it went negative because we couldn't find any buyers, is dishonest. And that is a lie. All right, the price should have never been taken negative. They were told to allow this by the powers that be. They did this. Not in the history of the commodity futures markets did prices ever go negative. Not even for a second. The lowest a price can go is zero. And technically speaking, no commodity should ever go to zero and can never because of the leverage. That's like saying a forex currency went to zero. All right, that's not supposed to ever happen or exist because of the nature of the markets. In that case, why didn't your Dow go negative? Do you know how many opportunities we have for the Dow to go negative? But no, they put in curbs on the equity side. They put in circuit breakers on the future side. And they got all these rules. It can't drop more than a certain percentage. But guess what? Crude oil and bonds are gangster. And they don't have limits. They can go and do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. But I do remember a time where limits were established and you couldn't do it. They wouldn't let it happen. But this time they let it happen. Just like they let John Corajan steal $1 billion, all right, from Man Global. All right. So all I'm saying is we're living in extreme political times, and crude oil is often used as a political football to gain and wrestle control of and to seize power of markets, economies, and industries. And it is getting a little old, to be quite honest with you. All right, so I'm done. That's all I got. I'm out of here. Remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And I'll see you guys in the trading room, and the rest I will see at the end of the report. And remember, you can open a free account. Just go to pulsewavetrading.com. We got a lot of giveaways, and you get to trade along with the free trade of the week. All right, and we got a webinar coming. We got a lot of things going on, and we will holler at you guys later. Have a good day. Peace.